to make some wrong things right. Help me bring supers back into the sunlight. We need to change people's perceptions about superheroes, and Elastigirl is our best play.
Better than me?
Well, hello everyone. We're back again, believe it or not. Thousands of miles away, can't stop Grandma from going to the movies. Here's Grandma.
Absolutely.
She's right here.
Nope.
As it turns out, this is a special edition of Grandma Goes to the Movies. While Grandma is still back in Austin, Texas, I am here in Singapore. Far away, but we've both gone to the same movie, as it turns out, which is Incredibles 2. Which, it's hard to believe, it's been like, 14 years or so since the first one. It's been a long time. But they've made a second one, and it picks up right after the first one left off. And it's the same story of the family of superheroes.
Incredible.
Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl and their daughter and their son and their baby son, and all of the different superpowers that they have, and how they are dealing with a world which is sort of tired of superheroes because they've made some mistakes, as it turns out, and they've had some problems with the destruction and such that they caused. But as this movie starts, there's a rich man who and his sister who wants to try to bring the superheroes back with a sort of a PR campaign of some different Elastigirl basically solving some crimes, and they hope to sort of slowly bring the superheroes back. But, that sort of, those plans change as the film goes on. What did you think, Grandma? What did you think?
I enjoyed it thoroughly. Each of the characters, Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, their daughter, adolescent daughter, Violet, and the son, and Jack, the baby.
Yes.
Jack, being a member of a superhero family, guess what? He has some superhero talents. He can do stuff.
Their powers,
and
Grandma.
The powers. Okay, the powers. And his family is just being introduced to his powers like the rest of the world is. And it was very interesting. The family dynamics and the problems they had were very interesting. Mom gets a job, goes off, and Dad has, he's maybe Mr. Incredible, but he is parenting alone. So the parents in the audience, that's something to connect with.
He's a stay-at-home dad.
Stay-at-home dad, right.
And he's not so incredible at home.
Yeah, the baby, Jack gives him the trouble because he's a baby, and keeps his dad awake, and dad doesn't get enough sleep, and even Mr. Incredible needs some sleep, evidently. All the parents in the audience, I'm sure, could connect with what was happening to the stay-at-home dad.
So what did you think of it?
Oh, I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was refreshing and entertaining, and one of the interesting things was that the superheroes, the folks with superpowers like that, there's a lot of them, and there were, we met some of the other ones too, and being a person with powers wasn't illegal, but using the powers was. And so, they lived in this kind of netherworld. Okay, I can do this and that, but I'm not allowed to do that. It was an interesting premise. Of course, there's a bad guy who is trying to influence everything that the superheroes could do, you know, and
Right.
control them, and had figured out a way to do it. And of course, that would not be a good thing for the world, you know. So that's what the story proceeds. What did you think? I thought it was really interesting.
Well, it was really interesting, and again, I thought it was a good film, and I would recommend it. But frankly, I don't know that I would recommend it for kids.
Oh.
The majority of the film, a lot of the talking and such, I mean, was all the themes were very adult themes.
That's
They
correct.
were all sort of big subjects, big topics, sort of more in line with what you would see in maybe a Marvel superhero movie, you know, like Captain America Civil War, where again they had the superheroes sort of fighting each other, or even Avengers Age of Ultron, where again they did they ended up having this collateral damage of killing all of these civilians by accident. Again, they're all big themes, and I was thinking to myself watching it that, you know, the kids who had to sit through those parts of the movie where they're standing around and talking about these things would be pretty bored. Luckily for them, there were enough of the sort of scenes where, again, there's some comedy going on with Jack the baby, or there's some action going on where they're fighting the bad guys. But those are actually not that many. They were sort of far between these different scenes, and it seemed to me there were a lot of these scenes where, again, they're talking about these themes about, you know, the superheroes and not using their powers, and how they could change that, and how it wasn't working well, and it got into that sort of quite deeply, actually, and I was really surprised as to how much they did of that. But again, I would recommend it. Again, the style and the look of it is all very good. The animation is great. There are some comedy bits in there, especially with the baby, that were quite funny. So again, I would recommend it, but again, I wouldn't be surprised at all if some smaller kids saw it and were fidgeting in their seats for a good portion of it.
They didn't understand it as well as the grown-ups did.
Yeah, again,
Yeah.
the film didn't even really try to avoid those themes. It went into them rather deeply and seriously at times, and again, I was surprised as to why they did that. But you know, again, it's still, I mean, it seemed to me really, even though it was an animated film, and even though it had these comedy parts to it, that was almost a film made more for adults than it was for kids. But you know, kids could still get something out of it. But again, the comedy bits and the action bits are sort of few and far between, I thought. But again, it was still good, and I would recommend it. What about you, Grandma?
Oh yes, I think so. It was entertaining and interesting. My attention didn't wander ever. I enjoyed seeing Elastigirl stretch herself, and
Right.
sometimes she had to be a balloon, to fall out of the sky and things like that. I enjoyed watching them use their powers, and they also had Frozone, and he was there helping the family out, and the lady who babysat for the baby that night, and
She's a fashion designer.
I don't
yeah.
remember. Okay, I didn't remember her title. She was very interesting, and she helped the parenting at home with Jack, with the baby.
So how many thumbs
Feeling-
are you giving it, Grandma?
Oh, this is a 2-thumb movie. 2 thumbs. Here's 2 thumbs.
Watch your big thumbs there, Grandma. Watch out now.
Are they too close? Okay, it's a 2-thumb movie.
Okay, I
Yes,
would recommend it too. It is good, and you should see it.
It was fun, yes. And
Yeah.
maybe they'll do Incredibles 3.
Well,
What do you
hopefully it's
think?
not another 14 years until we have another one, but
Well, this
it's successful enough. I would imagine that we probably will at some
it
point.
probably.
Okay, well, Grandma, nice to see you, and thanks for going to the movies.
I enjoyed it. I miss being with you, but other than that, I enjoyed it.
Well, we'll be back at some point here in a few weeks. Bye bye. Thanks.
Okay.